we enter again another liturgical year, another cycle of prayer, and in Advent, another time of waiting, a time of anticipation. And as we do well to ask ourselves, what is it that we're waiting for? As I think you are all aware by now, this coming Friday, our diocese will welcome a new bishop. And a couple weeks ago, there was a meeting of some of our local priests, what few of us there are, and the one in charge of the group had said, well, I'm going to be meeting with the bishop on such and such a date, and what do you all have that you want me to take to him? What questions or things you want me to make sure I tell him? And I'm going to be honest. The initial reaction was a venting of all of the anxiety, all of the frustration, resentment even, and it came from me too. And then we took a beat, and then we started saying things like, make sure you tell him he's welcome. Make sure you tell him that, we want to help him get to know the diocese and so on and so on. But that is so often how we approach, shall we say, whatever is at the next rung on the ladder up above us. When we are struggling, when we're really feeling maybe like our back is against the wall, when we're feeling abandoned, overwhelmed, insecure, we tend to try to look above us for some support, some protection, some sense of security or stability or relief. And do we not do that very, very often with God? How many of our prayers come from a place of real desperation? Perhaps even depression. How many times do we look to God with anticipation that He come and fix something for us? Or with an expectation that He will come and solve a problem, give us a solution, or exempt us from something difficult or painful? We do it a lot. And in the season of Advent, which is a preparation for Christmas, it serves us well to remember that these longings in our hearts, they are not new. These longings have been in human hearts since the very beginning. Human beings have long looked to God for some help, some assistance. And we do well to remember that when the fullness of time came and God offered us what His solution was, it came in the form of a baby. I think you've heard me quote the comedian Jim Gaffigan before when he talks about what it was like in his family welcoming, I think, their fourth child. And he tells the audience, okay, I want you to picture that you're drowning and someone hands you a baby. But this was God's answer to our problems. This was how God responded to that deep, visceral, primal prayer of humanity. Not with grandiose gestures, not with thunder and lightning, not with anything imposing or impressive, but a helpless, poor little baby. And our season of Advent is a time for us to recall that, to allow our minds and our hearts to enter into the mystery of that, on a new and perhaps a deeper level than we have in prior years. There is wisdom in our repetition of the liturgical year, after all. It gives us an opportunity to go over the same things again and again and again, but in slightly different ways, with a little more life experience, hopefully with a little bit more holiness and openness. When we look to heaven for some relief, we do well to recall that heaven's answer to that prayer was to send a baby. So in those times when we maybe get fixated on our insecurity or our poverty in some dimension, whether it's a literal financial poverty or a poverty of talent, a poverty of intelligence, a poverty of relationships, a poverty of knowledge or skill. And we are looking to heaven, all right, fill me, Lord, with your riches. We do well to remember God sent to us one to be Lord, who was born as one of the poor. When we're intimidated by the problems of society, maybe intimidated by someone at work, or just by a situation that we face, and we think to ourselves, oh, I need more power to solve that problem. If only I had more physical strength, or if only I had more connections or a broader network, and I could influence more people. We do well to remember that God answered that prayer with a baby who was helpless. And when we are sick and tired of feeling so vulnerable all the time, and maybe there is a close relationship in our lives and we keep getting hurt, or maybe it's just when we listen to the news or read a paper, we feel so insecure about the future, our ability to provide for our families, or what our income will be, or will there be crime rampant in our streets, or will our nation devolve into this, that, or the other thing. We do well to remember that the Lord of the entire universe, the creator and sustainer of all that is, let go of every last shred of that power to become entirely dependent upon us and our longings for justice. Let us finally remember that he became a victim of our injustice. I urge every one of us to go forth today and enter this season of Advent with this question. In this time of waiting, am I awaiting God to fulfill my expectations, or am I awaiting God himself? Peace be with all of you this day, and with all who love the Lord in simplicity of heart.